remember the weather that day? It was in November, I'm assuming cold?
Yeah, it was gray. I mean, sweatshirt and jeans weather.
Had you walked in the parade before?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Had you ever been a spectator at the Save Waukesha Parade?
No.
Okay. So I'm going to show you a clip, and it's kind of at the beginning of the parade. It's Exhibit 142. I'm going to have it displayed on the screen in front of you, and I'm just going to ask you, we'll play a couple seconds of that if it's okay.
Just keep that in mind, she was hit by his SUV. This is not some cop that stepped aside.
Before you know? Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to play
They are about to show the first person to be struck by the defendant's vehicle in the incident. A video of the incident.
Do you recognize that video clip?
Oh, I've never seen this before, no.
Does that show, though, however, the van that was in front of you that you were marching with on the parade on
The
November
defendant
21st
is going
of
to
last
have
year?
his
Let me play a
right
couple more seconds and let me,
in defending
you
himself
can tell me if you see
to
yourself
cross-examine this
behind
witness,
the van, all right?
his first alleged victim of the parade incident.
Yeah.
Does this accurately reflect
This
what
motherfucker.
you recall of this section of the parade, which it looks like it's at the beginning of the parade in terms of who you were with and what the float looked like?
When it gets to that part, I'm
I'd
going
ask
to
that
bring
the
more of this
court,
recording.
admit this into evidence and display
It's
it
going to be
public
terrifying and tragic.
Witness just stated she doesn't recall the clip.
She said she never
witness
saw
has
it.
answered
How could she recall something she
questions
didn't
that
see?
establish the foundation for this. And based on that, the court is going to
Exactly.
receive
She's there. She's
Exhibit
in the video.
142, and permission to publish is granted.
He does stall tactics.
I'm just gonna have it played through so that jury can see it, okay?
He is going to request
Does this
to
video
have
be able to see it as well?
the video
Should.
replayed,
Yeah, here we go.
the sections where
Yeah,
this
that's the
witness
man
is
that,
shown on tape
had the,
being
hot air
struck
balloon that
to
I didn't know
emotionally
was a flamethrower
abuse the witness.
last week. It's the hot
There
air
will be
balloon
no
bastard.
plan, there will be no sense to it. It will be that in this opportunity, he has the power by his right to
Sounds like the
request
witness is
replays of
already,
videos and to ask whatever questions he likes.
Fighting back sniffles.
And it's terrible.
Do you
She's
see
already,
yourself in this,
she's just seeing a scene of the
this
parade,
section that's been
somebody
paused?
recording
Yes.
the folks
Here's the
going by.
touch screen. The screen in front of you actually will react to your
We are
finger.
going to see a
You circle
monster
where you
attempt
are.
to reopen trauma wounds. There will be very little that can be done about it. The reason for this is, quite simply,
And clear that off. I just
if we deny that piece of shit his rights, we deny all of ourselves the same rights if we were wrongfully accused of something along that line. Therefore, as painful, as miserable, as much as so many people who are empathic, who are aware of this, hearts are breaking, we are watching it so that we can try and hold some strength for these other people. As this batwing, dragon horn, fork-tongued demon piece of shit is going to attempt to find ways to distract or deflect. Ultimately, he will be unable to defend his position and his actions as justified. He will not be able to prove that it wasn't him. And then he will go to prison for the rest of his life. He'll probably die there sooner than later. And there are points in this trial that are painfully slow, that this judge is reading so much verbiage into the record. This is so that after the court case is concluded, assuming there is a guilty verdict, any attempts by this thing to appeal that decision and get back out into the world will be made that much more difficult because of how airtight the following of the rules was in this courtroom. Everyone is aware of this. It's not exactly unfair. The system is designed to do this. It is designed for this purpose. They say it is better that 10 guilty go free than 1 innocent be executed or imprisoned. And in the meanwhiles and in-betweens of this process, you get things like this. You get a guilty person, obviously guilty, on video guilty, who attempts to twist and manipulate the innocent until proven guilty aspect into some way of getting away with it. The system is built so that the people, not robots, not AIs, not algorithms automatically deciding things through, but the people with their own experiences and education in the positions of prosecutor and of judge, and even of stenographer and bailiff, are well aware of the fact that here is a dangerous individual who is going to attempt to use the system to its own means. And as long as they follow the rules, do not cut any corners, do not allow this man to be Bill Cosby released, even though it turned out that he did do the thing, but the courts, the attorneys cut corners to get the conviction. And so he was free because they violated his rights. If they don't do that here, that can't happen to this guy. That is the point. Now, I'm going to pause this, and when it comes to the time to where he does this, I am probably going to pull up a little bit on here. It's going to be quite horrific. You're going to see some... This girl's crying. I may not even show it, but there's going to be some little audio or something. Just there, I must provide some example to people who follow me but may not be aware of this, to show what kind of person Darrell Brooks is, why he thought it was an intentional good idea to do the thing that he is accused of doing, that he's on video doing. The news barely talking about it, and they tried to, cover certain things up because the media only wants to talk about certain angles, certain aspects, certain type of people being the ones that are the threat. And it's not about that. It's not about race or religion or any of that. It's not about political ideology. I would say that for what I've seen of this dude, he's actually very conservative. But conservative, not as a Christian, as an American, but as a self-identified Moor. I believe is some type of a Hebrew Israelite claim. And that if that is the case, the other question people are asking is, why isn't his case being prosecuted as a hate crime? Thus far, he's been real well behaved in front of the jury, but at some point he may crack up toward the end of the trial, if they drag it out long enough, that this dude will start spitting some racial stuff that should make it a hate crime. Not that it matters, because he's already going to get sent up for 1,000 years. But statistically speaking, for the system, for people to be able to understand, you need accurate numbers based on actual events. And you report the actual events, accurate numbers. And you say, okay, this is the statistic. And then the next year you say, okay, this is the statistic. Until you have trending data that you can show who's doing what and what. If it's not accurately reported, those numbers mean nothing. Nothing. They're just made up figures. So think about that too. They don't want to write down hate crime. They don't like the scrutiny that comes with it and all this other stuff. Cops do it and everything else. But what happened at this parade appears to potentially have been a hate crime. So pause it here, just about 10 minutes. When this witness comes, I'm going to show a little bit of things on here, so warning in advance. There will be nothing gory. There will be no footage of the incident. The court feed that I'm viewing specifically removes that for broadcast purposes. The people in the courtroom are seeing it. There is no sound of it. There is no video of it. But you are going to hear the sobbing of a victim of a hate crime as she is confronted by her attacker through the legal system. Understand, there is a big burly dude standing just behind and to the right. And this man has a badge on because he's a bailiff. His job is to make sure that order is maintained, and he is keeping his hand on the pistol. So do not fear for the safety and well-being of this victim. However, the emotional well-being of this victim, I ask you to pray for. So, pausing it now, we'll return. Okay, I'm about to play the last little few seconds of the direct from the state with this witness. She will have seen the video of her getting struck from behind and the vehicle rolling over her knee. This will be explained in the thing. After this will be the cross-examination by the defendant representing himself.
The witness being run over by the SUV.
And did
Shout
that
out to
accurately
Neo
depict the car
Unrealist.
hitting you from behind and then rolling over your legs?
Yes.
What injuries did you suffer as a result of this, generally speaking?
2 torn ligaments in my right knee, and then to my spine, like my lower spine. 2 vertebrae were like compressed, and then my tailbone.
And those were all the results of being struck?
Oh, correct.
Thank you. Nothing further. Thank you.
Any
Oh,
cross
here we go.
specifics?
Yes, Your Honor. You stated that when you were struck from behind, you didn't hear or see the vehicle approach. Is that
Already
correct?
implicitly blaming the
That's
victim.
correct.
And you estimated this. Did you estimate the speed, or do you recall how fast the vehicle may have been going
When it hit me, no, I was not able to see that.
when it passed you?
They had asked me when it passed me afterwards what I would estimate.
Let me ask you a question about in the precise moment where you were completely surprised by being struck from behind by a moving vehicle and run over. At this time, what things did you notice?
It to have been. And I said, if I had to guess, it was probably around 20 miles an hour. Afterwards.
Would it be fair to say from the videos that we just saw that the vehicle wasn't traveling fast?
I'm just going to, for the record,
Grounds.
just clarify that the video is showing at 50% speed.
Grounds? Wow.
I didn't know that initially, I guess.
Nobody knew that.
Can you play it at full speed then, please? And then he can
That
ask
is an
the
important
question.
detail. And this is also ridiculous. You know, you can estimate the speed of the vehicle very accurately from the video itself. We can get the distances between the reference points and the amount of time it takes the vehicle to travel between them.
Go ahead, your question, sir.
And you said that you would estimate the vehicle was going around 20 miles per hour?
Correct.
And how would you come to that estimation?
She's like, do I really have to answer that?
I guess
For
I'm not sure how you
experience
want me
with-
to answer that question.
With motor vehicles,
And
for you saying 20.
general automotive experience.
based on previous experience with vehicles.
The defendant's goal is to make the witness, the
Traffic.
victim,
So would it be
as
fair to
uncomfortable
say
as possible.
you don't know for sure how fast the vehicle was traveling?
If you've never dealt with a
There's no way for me to
sociopath or
say
a
for
malignant
sure how fast the
narcissist,
vehicle was going. I was not driving it.
That's why it's an estimate, sir.
this is what is on display.
You stated that you fell to the ground. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say after I hit you with my vehicle, you went to the ground?
Make her relive it. He's abusing her.
At any point get a description of the driver of the vehicle?
No.
Were you able to make out if anyone was in the vehicle besides the driver?
No.
I'm physically sickened by this line of
Did you
questioning.
get a license plate number?
No.
Did Did you file a claim in this matter?
A claim against who? You?
There was a police report filed, yes.
Do you remember the name of the officer that you filed the report with?
No, I do not.
Not gonna make you watch her face.
It was an FBI agent.
Evil
Do you
exists.
recall the date that you were interviewed or that you made the report?
November 21st.
Same day.
Would that be with the FBI agent as you just stated or with local law enforcement?
The FBI.
It's gonna be a long trial.
I advise him to get this witness off the stand, man. This guy's playing with fire.
They
I
can't
know
do
it's
that
kind of
until
far,
he's
but
done.
can you see this paper that I'm holding?
This is that unfortunate. Have to let it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, she could see the paper.
Is that your handwriting?
How's she supposed to determine that from
Unless
that
he
distance?
does something that is
If you
literally
can't
out of order.
see it that close, just say you can't.
I can't read it from here.
We have a document camera we can put up.
If she had a freaking pair of binoculars, she couldn't read it.
See if we can get this up and just project it out.
Thank you.
And a speedy trial does not speed along. This is normal. If you've never watched a publicly shown trial, I advise you to do so.
Why not just give it to her and just have her look at it?
People walking around rooms making sure that everything's legit and whatever else. And real time. In real time. And on this one, even more so that they have to make sure that he's not horsing around.
Apparently it takes about 2 minutes to project it.
The reason this is allowed because the defendant has the basic right to challenge his accusers. So if the state uses her as a witness, he is allowed by law. It is his right to challenge her.
You cannot violate his rights. It will violate all of
If you want to
ours.
shield her from this, you can't use her as a witness. I'm sure that the state isn't putting her up there against her will. It doesn't seem that way to me. I mean, I'm guessing that she's up there of her own free will.
You know her, the state attorneys have advised her, this is how it's going to go. Be
This
prepared.
will just be previewed for the witness. It does have personal identifying information on it.
Okay.
I don't think anyone in the state's case is subpoenaed against their will.
That is admission of a new piece of evidence directly onto the record in real time, right there. He pulled up this thing and they said,
If
okay,
they
we'll
were,
allow it.
the state would
This
be
is
requesting
public
to question her
trial.
as a hostile witness.
Remember that?
Your objections noted.
Oh, it's upside down, okay.
I have it.
Can you move it up a little bit? Well,
Oh boy.
All of this is stall tactics on his part. It's
I
intentional.
agree. It is disgusting the accommodations you have to make in order to.
can you see that?
It's not in front of her
Oh,
yet, so
I'm
we
sorry.
did that. We just wanted to make sure we could get it working.
In order
I'm
to
sorry.
Be there
give him
momentarily.
his rights.
I
but-
apologize.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know. There you go. It's up.
Is that your handwriting on this document?
Yes.
And you stated that you gave a report to the FBI on November the 21st. Is that correct?
He's going to
is
haggle and
correct.
argue specific tiny.
Is it correct
Unrelated
that this
details.
date here says 12/29 of 21?
That's not what this form is.
What would this form be?
That was a form that was filled out as a follow-up based on my experience at the parade. I spoke with someone in person on the 21st.
Do you
Yeah,
know
if it
who
was an
provided
FBI
you with this
agent,
form
they
that
would have
we're
taken a
looking at?
302, filed a 302 form.
I believe it was through the Victims Witness Program. I don't recall correct, no. It was emailed to me, I believe.
Yeah, I imagine this is something she can do
So would it be fair
Something
to
she
say
can
then that
control
the
to-
report you filed
to
was
lock this
with
dude up?
Officer Wagner?
You talking about this report or previously?
The report of the
testify and help
Being
put him
struck.
away.
On
So
the
to speak.
21st of November?
on the 21st of November.
Do you know the name of the individual you spoke with on the 21st?
Not offhand, no.
Try and get an officer in trouble for speaking too candidly. Nothing to do with the defense.
Do you recall
Big bailiff just
stating in the report that you filed on November 21st
eyeballing Brooks from behind.
that you saw a red SUV go to the left of the float and then to the right in front?
Check out the laser beams coming out of Big Bailiff's eyes.
I don't believe, that's, what I recall is what I had stated earlier, was that I saw it veer to the left of the float. From there, I wouldn't have been able to see.
Make
Would
her
it be
relive
fair to
the
say that-
flashback over and over.
Reading from the report that you gave on November the 21st,
How calm he is.
that it says
How attempted matter of fact
that
he
you
is.
saw a red SUV go to the left of the float and then
The rest of
to
his
the
life
right
is at
in
stake.
front.
People
I
die.
don't have the report, so
Would you like to see it? I've read it.
Mr. Brooks, do you want to show her the report? Then you need
He
to
gave her the
do the
choice.
document camera.
Which is not protocol.
Do it again.
I guess it's a blessing that some of these people in this courtroom are not familiar enough with
Rather,
the
that's not the report. I
domestic
believe
abuser
that may
kind of
have
thing
been
like that, that they
notes
would see what
that
he's
were
doing
with
and
the
call him
report
out
that
on
went
it.
to Mr.
They
Brooks.
could, but they're not.
That is not the report.
Stall tactics, more delays.
Looks to be a summary of what she may have provided to another
And that poor girl is
officer,
sitting up there
FBI agent, but
in
not
the last
the report
emotional state that
itself.
he placed
So in
her
light
in
of that,
until the
she's
next
not going to be
question
questioned on
or
that,
response.
unless that helps refresh her recollection.
And it's all intention.
Is it?
Look at it, it's in front of you, right?
All intention.
yeah.
Does that in any way help refresh your recollection about what you may have told an investigator in this case?
I
On the
believe,
21st, sorry.
yeah, I believe this was a year ago, but I believe what I said was that I witnessed it continue to drive, veer to the left to avoid the van that was in front of me, and then continue driving without stopping.
Just so the record is clear, because it was being used, I think,
If you
to
pray,
refresh her
pray for
recollection
blessings
after
and
she
protection
reviewed
for
it, I
all
turned
these
off the camera.
unfortunate victims and the families of
So
those
it's
who
not
did
in
not
front of her
survive.
at the moment.
Because they are all going to be put through this ringer, one way or another, whether it's on the stand in the media or things this guy's going to say after the fact or whatever.
Go ahead, ask your next question.
I have the actual report too, if that may help. Would it be fair to say that you testified that you don't recall hearing anything or seeing anything before you were struck, correct?
Correct.
And now this is reading from the report, page 1.
I guess the proper foundation for Mr. Brooks to use would be if reviewing a report would refresh her recollection, and then based upon her answer, he would go from there.
Well, you could also just directly ask the question, since it's on cross-exam. Isn't it true that
And
you
here-
said X to the
Having this
investigator?
conversation amongst each other in front of him,
But you need to quote.
they are not
directly
allowed to
then
give
from
advice,
I
but
agree.
they're trying to
Go ahead.
direct him right here. I don't know if that's legit.
Is it true that you said when you were walking, well, it says White explained when she was walking, she heard screaming, and as she looked around, she was hit by the red SUV. Does that refresh or help you recall anything that happened on November 21st?
Does that help you have a flashback to the incident in which you were
Do
injured?
you recall saying that?
I do not recall those exact words, no.
Hey, let's argue about that for 10 minutes now.
I'm just being very quiet, man, because it's
Do
like,
you recall saying
this is
that
terrible that she has to endure this nonsense.
when this is all explaining like in the third person, I'm assuming, it says White, as she lay on the ground, White stated she observed the red SUV go to the left of the float and then to the right in front of the float.
Again,
Hold on, she may answer. Go ahead.
as I previously stated, I observed the van go towards the left, the vehicle go
It
towards
is
the left
not
of the
this
van,
girl's
at which
job
point there was no
to hold down
no
the verbal judo and
indication that
legalese
it was stopping or anything.
versus
and that it
the
continued from there.
representation of
I
the
could not
accused.
see what happened beyond
She's not a
going to the left
lawyer,
of the van
and
because the
she's
van
not
was
on
in front of
trial.
me blocking my view.
But he's trying to make this feel like she's on
Could see
trial.
you after you ran me over, stupid.
It also
Went
says
around a white van in front of me.
White
Blaming the
stated
victim, that's the
vehicle
thing.
appeared to be traveling extremely fast and it did not slow down or even brake. But you just said that you couldn't see the vehicle once it veered around the van. Is that fair to say?
As it veered to the left of the van, it did appear to be moving fast, yes.
Would it be fair to say that the video footage doesn't show that?
Objection, that mischaracterizes the video footage, as the
Grounds.
video was cut
He's
off.
testifying what the
shortly after
video
striking
shows.
this point.
You can't do that.
You're making an argument, which is something you can do later, so I'll sustain the objection as to the form of the question.
It goes on to say, White did not observe the driver of the SUV and could only describe the SUV as red.
trying
and
to say it
appeared to
wasn't
be
him.
a lower rise in
The
quotation
man
marks
speaking
SUV
right now
and
is
maybe
in custody
a
after having been
Traverse.
arrested, having been pulled
Do you
out
recall
of
saying
the
that?
vehicle that hit
I
those
said it was
people
of similar
after a
size
manhunt.
to a Traverse.
What is a Traverse?
Objections are relevant.
A Chevy Traverse, I
Grounds.
believe, isn't it?
Overruled, she may answer and explain why
She's
she
trying
said
to
what she-
identify the make and model of the car. I mean,
Because, in my opinion, it's
Objection,
a lower
relevance.
sitting SUV or vehicle versus like some of the higher, some of them sit up higher and are bigger in size. There's more of a
she's
mid-size,
right. You would not
lower
mistake
to the ground
a
SUV,
Chevy
in my
Traverse
opinion.
for a Chevy Suburban or whatever,
Similar to
whoever
a
makes
Traverse.
Traverses.
I'm going to go ahead and pause this recording. If anything of particular note occurs,
Do you
I will
recall
present
saying
it.
that?
Otherwise, if there is a little bit
And I'm
of
reading from the report again. White
It's
redirect
hard to
stated that
mistake
she
by the
anything
state
for a
after
Chevy
this,
was
Suburban.
released at Waukesha
I will
Memorial Hospital and sustained bruising,
provide a little bit of that.
scars, and
If it
road
goes to
rash on her
redirect,
body and
he
a
then
knee
has
injury to her right leg.
the
White
option
stated
to
that she did not have a broken leg,
cross-examination
but may have
of
a
redirect.
torn MCL.
So-
Do you recall?
A torn medial collateral ligament.
Yes.
So would it be fair to
If they
say,
just
and I'm asking
no
this
further
because
questions
you said may
after his
have
cross,
a torn
she can get
MCL.
down.
Would it be
He
fair
doesn't
to
have
say
any
that
more
at
crack
that
at
time
her.
you were not
They go on to
sure
the next witness
of
in
the
the same
full extent
fashion.
of your injury?
I believe everyone who survived the
Yes.
incident or witnessed it is going to testify against this guy.
About how long were you treated at Waukesha
Now, this dude
Memorial
right now
Hospital?
has short hair, buzz cut completely down.
For the injuries
He
that
had
you-
long
you
dreadlocks when he was
caused to her?
arrested. And I believe he's going to try to argue that because he doesn't have dreadlocks now, they can't prove that was him. Even though this is the man who was physically removed from the vehicle that did the thing at the time. His defense will be that it either wasn't him in a different vehicle, somebody else did it, and he's being set up to look like it was him, or the person that did it looks nothing like him. To people who will have seen him driving through.
He's not an expert in knees.
Just one second.
So we'll be back before the end of the video. All right, just after I paused it, this guy went for the throat. So
And you can see it kind of like shaking.
Yes.
Mr. Brooks,
Egg.
These questions are disgusting.
She indicated she filed a claim because she was injured.
Exactly.
So,
Mr. Brooks, I'm sustaining the objection as to the form of the question. Please rephrase.
do you consider yourself an injured party?
Yes.
Are you a plaintiff in this matter? Grounds.
She's a witness. Sustained.
Have you read or seen the complaint in this matter?
You
at
can see she
at
is
any
not
time?
at all
Objection's
comfortable.
irrelevant.
Grounds.
I think her leg is
she may
fidgeting,
answer.
and you can see it kind of like shaking her whole body.
Have you seen or read the complaint?
he's going to ask plaintiff questions to try
I don't
and
know what complaint
negate habeas corpus.
is being referred to. No.
This is some sob sit bullshit. And it's torturing the victim.
And were you aware that you may be called to testify in this matter?
Yes.
Now he's all dressed up acting like a lawyer.
And who were you informed by?
I would imagine a prosecutor's office.
Victim witness program and
Look at the
Yeah,
emotional manipulation he's
prosecutors.
doing to her. Had her on the
So
verge
are
of
you
tears and
saying
then now
the
acting
state of
professional
Wisconsin?
and easy questions.
I mean, he's
Grounds.
making the disgusting implication that
Sustained.
she's somehow testifying to profit off of this.
11,
Like
please
she
move
has
on
to
the
get
next
her
line of
MCL
questioning.
torn. I mean, this is disgusting.
Are you being paid to be here?
Oh, God. This is-
At the moment that you were struck,
We need a
did you
shower
observe
after this
anyone
stream.
else struck at that time?
no.
Okay, I'm not going to show the thing. He tried to make it dramatic. It was not. He finished his line of questioning. The state did a brief redirect where the defendant objected twice and was overruled twice to relevance. Basically, they just referred back to an overhead like helicopter or drone shot of her getting hit and the vehicle moving on, and he had tried to ask questions that might suggest, I believe, that on one line of questioning he asked in ways to try and make it seem like maybe her credibility was not good as far as the jury would go because she was somehow profiting by this injury, and number two, that the injuries weren't as bad as she was saying. They asked her to, did you have further injuries beyond? And he objected to the relevance and was overruled. And her answer was yes, she had to have other medical dealings because of this over time. She said that she had fractured a couple of vertebrae, so it was pretty bad the way she got hit. And her leg got run over. Her leg was twitching or shaking or something during this entire thing. That it was, I don't know if it was a trauma related, nervousness, or if it was if she has a restless leg or what. She was extremely uncomfortable, and his implication was that perhaps she never saw the driver of the vehicle. She wasn't exactly sure what kind of vehicle it was, and rolling on the ground as she was, and with the line of sight and view and everything, she couldn't really tell if he actually had this vehicle was the same one that struck the others, as if maybe there were two of the same kind of looking SUV with the same kind of looking maybe driver on the same street at the same time during the parade. He wants them to forget that part. during the parade. He's going to make other arguments at a later point where he's going to try and say, well, why were people in the street? You shouldn't be crowding the sidewalk. You know, that's dangerous in the street. You could get hit by a car. During the parade. See how that works? Short-term memory only has so many slots kind of thing. You forget. I'm going to continue watching this. I'm not going to put anyone else through any more of it myself. After this redirect, they effectively established that the vehicle that struck her continued to move on and struck other vehicles was in fact the same vehicle. So that even if he can't prove that it wasn't him that hit her, he's trying to get it so that he can't prove that it's the others though. That's what he's doing. It is disgusting. It is a pathological, natural instinct of the cluster B people that do this. He's trying to blame the victim, put aside, decline that it was even him, try and distract and delay, and maybe people will just kind of forget and move on, like, you know, video game characters where like their programming resets, the algorithm is like, oh, well, I guess it's time for me to walk down the street now. That's not going to happen in this courtroom. These are real people. This judge is a real person. The prosecutors are real people. The only not a person, not a human per se, is the guy defending himself. He's on a whole other level. I believe he's had no further questions because the next thing after that, I had a little hiccup where I had to click back onto the video, and keeping it live and up to date about a minute after where I was at on the replay of it there, they were calling the next witness, which is probably another victim. I'm not going to roll through the rest of it. I wanted to show all of this. So that's been shown. And I'll repeat, it is necessary, unfortunately, that he be able to do this because he is still technically, by all definable, all measurable means, in possession of the same natural rights as the rest of us, given from birth. And that even if his creator is fucking Satan and not whatever, he still has certain rights. He has to endure the trial process. His claims, ultimately, what he will bring it to again and again and again, is that he is not being allowed to face his accuser if the accuser is the state of Wisconsin. Now, number one, anybody, if you're in the state of Wisconsin, the people that live there are from the state of Wisconsin. They are part of the state of Wisconsin. The people of the state of Wisconsin, the people versus, is what that means. It's everyone in that courtroom. It's the jury. It's the everyone. Everyone there is Wisconsin. From Wisconsin. In Wisconsin. And this trial's in Wisconsin. Do you want me to say Wisconsin more times? Wisconsin, Wisconsin, Wisconsin. By saying the plaintiff is not present, he wants to claim that his right to habeas corpus is violated. He has a right to face his accuser. And the truth is, having been arrested after a manhunt after this incident, the system being built to try and still nonetheless retain and incarcerate criminals, monsters, people who do things like he did on video. So I mean, innocent until proven guilty, run him through the court. Don't kangaroo him, give him a real trial with full rights. Well, here we are. It's terrible, isn't it? Terrible. I'm only smiling because it's a coping mechanism. It's terrible. I'm not enjoying it. I can't look away. The reason I can't look away is I want to make sure his rights are fucking protected. Because if I was in a similar position, whether I had done something gnarly or whether I was accused of doing something I never did, I want the system to be able to protect me if I am innocent, if it is built to do so. And again, I encourage anyone else, get into some public court proceedings. All trials are public. You have a right to have other people watch the trial so that public witnesses, randos from about, can say, yeah, I watched that. That was bullshit. Or yeah, I saw it. Justice was served. That's the point. So you have a right to that. Exercise it. And even better than go and sit in court and get eyeballed by people that are on trial, you know, find something from somewhere else where you can watch it, completely remotely on a live stream. This is becoming a thing. Do so. Court TV isn't even like a channel anymore, I don't think, on cable or whatever. But the idea being, that's the thing, without commentary necessarily. It doesn't have to. What I was listening to, that guy's not a lawyer. He's just putting his emotional opinions out there, and I'm not necessarily listening to those, but I do agree in a lot of places there. It's pretty disgusting. But as he said and I've said, it must take place. For the sake of the rights of every other person in that room, it must take place. And everyone else can be strong and, I guess, trauma bond together as a town and hope that nothing like that ever happens again. And I sure as hell hope that that jury doesn't decide that fucking BLM's a stronger, convincer. Because if that's the case, man, they got a bad look going. I think, though, it looks like this guy's probably going to get the book thrown at him. It's going to take him a minute. Slaying dragons, behemoths, fucking balrogs, any of that is not a quick or rapid matter. And this dude is something. I'm not saying he's even anything particularly strong, but know your enemy, man. This guy, even as a low-level pawn, if that's an imp of hell, as it were, metaphorically speaking, to how demonic some people can really be, understand that that guy ain't shit. And he's formidable, right? That's their Raditz. So understand that. In the world, there are much worse, much stronger, much more competent sociopaths and narcissists who succeed. And I don't know, man. I got nothing else. Evil is a thing. I've just given you a little bit of a glimpse of the existence of it. But put on trial in a system meant to give you faith. And I'm going to tell you, these upper Midwest courts that I've happened to see some court cases in, they got good judges. They're fair. They run it like a courtroom, and they take it seriously, the idea. And you'd be like, oh, but the rest of the world, nobody. But guess what? The people with the real sway, the actual gavel that bangs, it has a kind of legal authoritative power, and the people with the badges and guns enforce it kind of thing. Those people are like 95, 98% of the time or something, which is really good for the overall. It would be nice to have more, better. 99.9 or 100% of all courts are 100% fair. All judges are 100% on the level. Be that as it may, the fact that you have an overwhelming chance at a fair trial in any court system for any circumstance under which you may happen to be compelled to appear. As long as you don't act a fool. And even then, watching this guy, he's still being given his full rights, because we got to make sure that this guy can't get his appeal, but that no rights are violated, which means that if there's anything, he makes a legitimate point and the judge has to make a legitimate ruling and say, okay, man, that's a legit point, so rule. Moving forward. This case will be examined in the future by law students. That's all I got. No idea when this is going to be uploaded, because this is going to be long. I get it fully charged up here on the tablet that I'm recording on. I think I'm going to take that outside and set it in a place with really good signal strength and just let it go. Yeah, I'm going to end this. I'm going to keep watching that. I'm going to keep praying for all these people in that town. And anywhere else that similar kind of things end up happening to. I got nothing else I can do for it. It's my day off. I'm not really doing anything to aggravate my back today. So I'm going to sit here. I'm going to watch evil fight for its life. And I'm going to pray for the victims. Everybody have a good day.